Hello, my fellow patriots. This is Alex with Disabled Vets Perspective, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a long time since we've sat here face to face and on the live chat. So, wanted to get on here. Actually, did a very detailed and descriptive walk around video here a few minutes ago. Uh, let's see, something about we're having trouble streaming to your destination. It's possible your server URL or stream key are invalid. Oh, great. Okay. So got one location that's not wanting to stream anyway, but I got a few. So I've got one that I started that I never went live on. Maybe they just rejected me. Um, let's see who we got hanging out here so far. Cindy, I see you were driving. Be careful. Angel Lawrence, welcome. Lori M. and Wanda Hall. Helen Dixon, welcome. Black Spring with Autumn. How are you, dear? Johnny Rhodes, welcome, welcome. Granny Tutu. Look at all these people I've hung out with so many times. Wisdom's Corner. Hello, Margot. And welcome to everybody. Pied Piper, good to see you. All right, so this network thing that I titled it, we need to network. Things are getting pretty real out here. Chrysler Imperial, how you doing? Um, if you've noticed the chatter about, and this is globally about the need for papers, please. Uh, this is all getting pretty serious. They're pushing really hard on this to get your papers so you continue to live your life. So, what I'm going to talk about on this stream is how we can work together because what's going to happen is we're going to have two totally different societies, not by any fault of our own, but because of the way the system is creating. Daniel Billings and C, how you doing? Killer Whale, good to see you. Welcome. Um, anyway, so what I've come up with is some ideas on how people like us, the patriots, the people that rub the fur the wrong way, like myself. I've come up with some ideas on how we can work together to create a system so that we're prepared for becoming the outcasts, the rejects, the underground, all those things that we will be titled because there are many of us who do not have any interest in dealing with any pricks. Um, I'm one of those, and I've actually got two reasons. One of them is because just hell no, but the other reason is the prick to me would be suicide. Um, I am deathly allergic to the flu shot. I go into anaphylactic shock with the flu shot. So there's no chance that I will be doing that, and no government entity anywhere on the planet has a right to mandate that you inflict harm upon yourself. So they can flat out kiss my ass. And anybody who just says, "Oh, well, it's the government tells us to, we have to do what they say." Uh, if you rub the cat the wrong way, let the cat turn around. Right? That's true. You rub my cat's fur the wrong way, he's like, "Oh yeah." But anyway, that's just different. Um, Never take the jab. Well, amen. That's why we're talking today. Now, something interesting is going on in the Caribbean, and I actually have a video queued up. And the organization is well. Let me just double check here, just to make sure I get their name correct. And it is called The Ship Life. So if you are interested in following what's going on with the cruise ships, which is another interesting deal, then you're going to want to subscribe to this, The Ship Life. So let me play this for a second. And I got to do a couple of things here while we're yapping so that I can play this thing and you can actually hear it. And after this plays, I'll talk about what I want to talk about with it.
This past Friday on April 9th of all, volcano located on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent named Milton Fl horrifically erupted, prompting thousands of residents to evacuate and seek refuge on neighboring islands. The initial blast from the volcanic eruption sent plumes of ash 20,000 feet up in the air, only to come raining down on the island. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jay here, and welcome back to the Ship Life. So, what's currently going on over in St. Vincent?
And commercials. That's just one of those things. I guess if you're monetized or not, I understand they put commercials on my stuff. But anyway, back to
It's
James.
absolutely horrible and heartbreaking. Of the 100,000 residents living on the island, 16,000 of them have been told to evacuate. And thankfully, to help with the evacuation, three cruise lines have raced over there with their ships to help assist and save the day. In order to help fleeing residents seek refuge on neighboring islands, Carnival Cruise Lines, Royal Caribbean, and its sister company Celebrity will be sending ships over to St. Vincent, playing a crucial role in the evacuation process.
Wait for
However, in
it.
order to do so, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, Ralph Gonsalves, has said that in order to board a cruise ship to take a temporary refuge on another island, each resident must be completely vaccinated. So to be clear, at the moment, it is believed that it's not the cruise lines that are technically mandating vaccines in order to be evacuated. It's of course the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, as well as leaders from other neighboring islands like St. Lucia, Grenada, Antigua, and Barbados that are all in agreement with this. So looking at this interesting yet oddly timed ultimatum, people are naturally feeling one way or the other about this situation.
Okay. Now, that, appreciate you, James. Like I said, if you want to know what's going on with the cruise ships, you need to get on over there and subscribe to him. But he gave the information that I wanted you to hear. By the way, welcome, Bubba News. I saw you in there. Hey, to you too. Dr. Evels, welcome to you. Big Dog, good to see you. Um, anyway, so what is going on is pretty serious. The thou shall not buy lest I take the mark. Okay, that's where we are headed right now. And what they're telling these people, their government is telling them, real world prepper, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Um, they're telling these people, if you don't get the stick, then you're more than welcome to stay where you are and die from the horrific, catastrophic events that would be because of a volcano. If you don't take something that is completely experimental, then you have chosen to die a violent, miserable, potential violent and miserable death by Mother Nature. Now, in World War II, there's a little known event that took place that, I mean, frankly, just not very many people knew about before there actually became a movie about it. And it is the Battle of Dunkirk. Now, in that situation, the Germans backed the Brits up against the beach, so there was nowhere to go. And they were basically lined up like sitting ducks and being attacked from the sea and from the air and from the Germans behind them. And apparently, they couldn't get the military ships for whatever reason. They couldn't get them in there to rescue these people at Dunkirk. So there was a call put out on the radio for anybody who had a vessel that was capable of making the trip to load up their vessels and go to Dunkirk and pick up as many people off the beach as they could. Well, thousands of personal watercraft hit the ocean, and they all headed over there to rescue their brothers and sisters, their humans, and they brought them to safety. It was a huge event. And what I'm saying, based on that information and based on the networking, at this point, if there are people that own vessels that are close to St. Vincent or can make the trip, they should be heading out right now to help their fellow humans. And since the cruise ships and the government won't let these people move unless they have the prick, then it's up to humanity to save each other. So if you have a vessel, get your ass over there to St. Vincent and start moving people off the island, taking them to the other side of the island, whatever it takes to get them out of harm's way, because the government will not do it. And what they're going to do is, if you go there, they're going to be, probably trying to pull over vessels and stuff like that. So it's going to be a risky thing. Their Coast Guard's going to block people from coming in. It's going to be a bunch of crap. So all I can say is, you just got to do this stuff. And coming back to this country, right now we have the situation where Ron DeSantis here in Florida has declared through executive order or executive fiat that there will not be an enforcement of the passports, and that's great, except it is executive fiat, and if somebody just chooses not to obey it, then there's not a whole lot of recourse. A lot of name calling and maybe some stomping up and down of the feet, but not a lot of recourse. Executive orders are not law. Yeah, my governor rocks. But what I would like to see in Florida is I would like to see our representatives here put together a bill and run it through the chain of command into our House, our Senate, and then to the governor's desk the way it's supposed to be, so it can be signed into law. Then it can't be revoked, removed, disobeyed, whatever. It becomes law. So right now we are stable because people choose to obey, they choose to follow it. But when people decide not to, then there's going to be a problem. So what I'm doing here is I'm talking about people helping people. And right now is the time to get a network established. The patriots that will look out for each other need to be establishing their lines of command or chain of command at this point, their lines of communication. And what I'm talking about is not everybody jumping on the email going, hey, how's the wife and them, but making contact with people in your network right here, the patriots, sending one email between each other with your address and your phone number. And phone numbers are okay right now, but those are not going to be recommended for communication because everything will be tracked. So, addresses primarily. And when you get the address, you need to send to your network a written letter. And one of the first things you need to establish in that letter is a voice command, a sentence, a phrase, a word, a safety word, so that when somebody approaches you, if they're from the Patriot Network, they would have that phrase. And it could be something stupid. Like you could say something like the sun set early this morning. And that is just bizarre. And anybody who is outside of the network would cross their eyes and be like, what? And then you say, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were somebody else or whatever. You could say, yeah, it sounds pretty stupid and then walk off. But if it's somebody within the network, then you say the sun set early this morning, then they might come back with, well, it'll rise pretty well tonight, I think. And there you have your safety words, your phrase that puts you into a safe place. At that point, then you can say, look, man, I've got an issue with my car, and somebody gave me your information as part of the network, and they said you're a mechanic, and I wondered if you could take a look at it. Now, the interesting thing here is that we are going to be a society with probably not much access to money because banks are going to say, oh, you didn't want to be pricked, then we can't do business with you. So we have to establish trade and barter and exchange of services. So, for instance, if the guy says, "Yeah, I'm a mechanic, and I can take a look at that for you, pull it on into my garage," while he's tinkering with it, I've got a situation in the house with my water heater. In my case, I'm familiar with plumbing, so I would say, okay, well, let me slide in there and take a look at it, see what I can do while he's fixing my car. I'm fixing his water heater, and we meet in the middle, shake hands, and carry on. So, networking, bartering, exchange of services, these are things that have to be seriously considered. Um, Commodities that are hard to get. Maybe there's a source out there. Maybe there's somebody that's willing to help the underground, like we will become. And what if there's one person that decided to get the vaccine and maybe has, maybe they're concerned about it afterwards and they want to help others to avoid that situation. So they go online and they order $500 or $600 worth of toilet paper. And that person, since they have the documents, is capable of doing that. And from that point, if they're in your network, then you communicate with them and you say, I need a pack for my family. And they would be able to possibly send it to you. Maybe there's some kind of a barter or exchange that you can do with that person. We Some of this stuff we would have to figure out and potentially figure out on the fly because we won't have all the answers no matter how hard we try. We're going to have to work this thing. But we are going to be criminals. Every single last one of us. If we don't obey their system, they will outcast us. They will ostracize us. They will make us into the filth of society, the other class of citizen, which I'm fine with. I don't give a damn. Titles are totally irrelevant. So we have to work together. Now, little things like trading. There are some specifics in trade that most people want. And, it's like coffee, tobacco, alcohol, first aid equipment, things that are important when you're shut off from society. It would be worth having some of that stuff on hand. I I pretty much have the coffee market pretty well closed up. So should it come down to it here, if for instance that person I was describing that buys the $500 worth of toilet paper, maybe I try to trade them some coffee for a pack. So just an example. But we have to start right now establishing an underground. And my best bet for you guys is to take down, for instance, my email address, and I will take the anybody who sends me an email with their address, their phone number. I'll write it in a black book because unless it's an emergency, I won't communicate with that person online. In the situation where you need a mechanic and you're away from the house, and perhaps we're in Florida, if we're over in Nevada for some reason, and the truck starts having problems, I would contact somebody in my network, either by phone or by email, and it would be a very cordial, coded conversation with no specifics and definitely no use of the safety words because all that would be picked up. But you would say, "Oh, I heard you had family down here that I was hoping maybe we could go by and see them, and the car's running a little rough, so I'm hoping I can get over there." That's a code. And that person would say, "Oh yeah, you know what? I do have my cousin Billy is down there. He's got that garage over there on whatever street." And there's your communication. Everything's done in code. You slide over to that garage. You use your safety word, your safety phrase, and that person goes, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I can help you out. I can get you in the back here, and we'll take a look and see what's going on." And then you work your exchange of services, your barter, your whatever it takes. But it's going to be a little bit spooky for some people. It'll be an adventure for other people. Um, I'm not intimidated by this. I've exchanged services many times in my life already. Um, I've had people do work for me, and I just frankly could not afford to pay for it. because living on a disability, I don't have anything anyway, but I do have a skill set. So I've had somebody do some stuff for me, and I've done stuff for them in exchange. Um, let's see. I'm just looking at my chat here for a minute. I think I've been ignoring it. Horse with no name. Hello. I guess you guys heard about the volcano and how they only rescued. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. I've suggested that anybody who has a vessel, I don't know how many sailors watch my channel. I am a sailor. My boat is not in working condition. It will be it'll be a while before I can get on it because the concentration in this household has shifted to medical. But eventually, I'll have my 34-foot Morgan up and going or sold or whatever. But anybody who has a vessel that can make a break down to St. Vincent and save some people, that would be really a good point with this network. It's a good start. It shows the collaboration of humanity helping each other, because our system is going to be us and them, and it's not going to just be in the U.S. I was just in Florida and St. Pete, Clearwater area. I was going to stop by, but pressed for time with the family and all. When I got talking, you can go on and on, fellow patriots. Well, if you get back down here, look me up. I'm all the way up in the other end, so you have to go all the way to the north tip of Florida to be up in my region. I'm not in South Florida. I'm in a pretty good location. As far as me being a member of the network, I'm in a very good location. I have a huge garage. I'm capable of many things, anything in the way of building or repair or fiberglass, whatever. So my location would be key for people who are making moves. Safe havens. This is another really important thing. If you are in the network, um, yeah, it is tough. That's real world prepper says it's tough even among our people. We are so guarded these days. That's why I'm saying that the communication needs to be done by paper. And if you don't want to give your home address, that's probably smart too. But you should have a PO box, something so that you can start receiving snail mail and establishing addresses of people so that you can start the network. That's a really good point, because everybody is guarded. We are all on the defense. And uh, once you receive that paper letter and you have the phrase that is used by the people in your network, that has to be very, very guarded. You're not going to just tell anybody, oh, yeah, well, hey, man, go see this guy over here and tell him this. That's not how this works, because we'll be infiltrated constantly, and people will be trying to find out how our network is working. So, snail mail, old school, uh, no technical communications, only things that are primitive, and this includes something similar to the Pony Express. Um, if you, for example, you need to get information to real world prepper up there in mid states, and I'm down here in Florida, if it's really important, I can say, I got a buddy of mine that drives truck. Hey, you going up here by Tennessee Way? I need you to take this up there for me. And then you can tell them, leave it at the counter at the Love's truck stop at this location. And then I would get a hold of Real World Prepper, and I would say, hey, buddy, I've got something sitting over here at the Love's truck stop. And when you go in there, you know, you don't want to give them ID necessarily, because you don't want to put you in that location if necessary. So you give them, I heard somebody drop something off for Alice, and then they'll say, oh yeah, it's right there on the front. But there are ways to do this. Pony Express, using our friends in the trucking industry.
PO boxes.
PO boxes, that's what I'm saying. Make sure, if you don't want to give your home address, which is smart, then you get your PO box so that you can have your correspondence in a place that's outside of the reach of others. So Yeah, cool. Right on. So Real World Prepper is definitely in, and I'm sure he and I will talk here in the near future, and we'll get established with a code phrase, and we've got people. Our friend Margot, she's up there in the Dakotas. So then we've got people in Pennsylvania. You know, the answer is we have everybody that we need. We just have to establish our ability for communication, because that's going to be the hard part. Once we get established with communications and we have a system working, we have the Pony Express using our truckers, we have the snail mail using stamps, then we grow this network carefully. Don't just grab people. Take a little time and vet the people that you are considering putting in the network. Um, when cellular and Wi-Fi goes down, that's fine, because we won't be using that for our communication anyway, unless it's an absolute emergency. Now, in an emergency, obviously, if the cell phones are down, you have to wing it a bit, and you in those situations you might have to become a little bit of a gray man, and the gray man is the person that blends into the environment that they're in and basically listens and learns what's going on locally. And there's another way that you can find people that are in the network, and it's by observing resistance, people that are just people that seem to be outside of the norm. Pay attention to them. And hey, Jason, Gary, good to see you. It's uh it's going to take some building of this thing, but our time is short. Their time is infinite. They just keep squeezing until they think they have everybody, but the harder they squeeze, the more I fly away. So it's time to start establishing it. And first thing you got to do is you got to get you a little black book, and that little black book that's going to have your addresses of your people, and potentially you're going to have the code phrase put in there. That book should be treated as if it's a gold mine, and it should be protected with every ounce of your being, because if somebody that is not part of the system gets a hold of that black book, we could all be screwed. So it needs to be the most important item in your entire possession, and it needs to be cared for in that respect. It should be well hidden, only accessed in emergencies when you need it, and then put away. And I wouldn't carry it on you if you have the information you need, specific information for something that you're going to do that day. Put it on a piece of paper, stick it in the purse loose, write it on the back of a receipt, make it look very nonchalant, and then when you're done with it, burn it, or dispose of it where there's no chance of it being linked to what it is you have. Um, okay, yeah, my email is in my chat. I have a feeling that if and when it goes down, it's going to get ugly in so many ways. Used to have a black book. No one remembers phone numbers anymore. It's all on smartphones anymore. That's true. That's why I say this. For us, we need to go back a little bit to old school. We're going to have to do things like we did back in the 80s. The only thing that's going to be missing is the ability to grab a payphone. But there's also the possibility in most places to get burner phones for next to nothing. So that's a thought. You just if you have something like that, you have to make a if there's a phone call you have to make that you have no choice of, then you make it, and then you drive over that phone. That's it. It's done. Um, once once we are in the system of this barter and survive that we're going to be in, then it's going to be important that you discard the smartphone. I mean, we at my age, we survived an awful long time without a leash in our pocket, and we're quite capable of going back to that lifestyle. So it's a convenience, it's a necessity for me to get my information out to you. I open myself up to an awful lot of surveillance because of that. But if things went to pot, then the next thing you would hear from me would be a letter, because I'll get rid of all of my communication devices that are connected to any kind of system or network. I would be the epitome of off grid, and I'm not afraid at all to do it. The primary reason I have what I have now is so that I can communicate with you folks, and so that we can get on some kind of page. Born and raised here in Sillies, I want to be. How you guys doing?
Doctors too.
Very, very quite capable. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Um, then what now?
Doctors.
Yes, there's another thing. There are going to be medical professionals. That's a good point. She said doctors.
I
No.
can't get rid of it because of doctors.
The medical professionals, there are many of them that are on our side as well. The ones that aren't going to toe the line. And guess what? They're going to be willing to be part of the underground too. So, you know, if you can, if you know doctors that are part of our team, then it would be helpful to get them into the network. But again, you got to vet everybody. Dangerous Freedom, how you doing? Good to see you. We're all on lists and archive for later use. Very few can stay in the shadows anymore. Well, that's true, but you pretty much are in a position where you have to decide what do you feel is important, because they can't track you if you don't carry a tracking device. Um, if you're familiar with surveillance, then that's something that you should be taking note of. Where are the cameras in your area? Um, which angles are best to be moving around? Don't be afraid to put on a hoodie. Uh, Basically, you need to take some time as a law-abiding patriot constitutionalist, and you need to learn a little bit about how to be a criminal, because in their eyes, that's exactly what we'll be. We will be criminals because we are against their system. So, learning things that are done by heathens, it's not a bad thing. Studying a little bit about criminal activity. It's disgusting to think this way, that, we are going to be criminals. The most patriotic people in the country and potentially the world are going to be criminals. But that is not our choice. That's their choice. It's just nothing we can do about it. Um, Over here on D-Live, I kind of forgot to open this thing up. Namvet, appreciate the lemons and the ice cream. Thank you for that. And welcome, uh, Gladys Kravitz. Good to see you. And Hondo's over there. Hey, he's over here too. I see double. So anyway, um, I don't really have much more to add to this. I hope that the subject isn't taken further. Um, Buddy over here, Dangerous Freedom. You guys, if you haven't subscribed to him, you need to. He comes on late night and has some pretty awesome topics, a lot of roundtables, a lot of chats. Um, Maybe in his shows, the people that are there, very intelligent people, preppers, survivalists, maybe they can add more to this subject. But it's something that we as creators need to talk about. We need to get our uh, the people that subscribe to our channel that are in this for the long haul, that really are interested in staying free. We're going to be the most isolated free people on the planet, but it's okay. Small town USA for me, prior law enforcement officer. I have some ideas how the other side operates. I train select people in the same. That's a good thing. I do too. And unfortunately, I think we're seeing the lines being drawn and which side our thin blue line is going to take. And I realize that, God bless you, you know, I know you're a law enforcement officer, and I know many of them that are, you know, just as solid as I am. But I'm also seeing an alarming number, at least the ones they're showing us on news networks, but also some people online that are showing these cops in their real environment. Um, it's concerning how many of them are just doing their job. Uh, when you swear an oath to the Constitution, just doing your job becomes a criminal act if it's unconstitutional. So that's pretty much where that ends. Instead of all this, why not organize citizen arrests of all the commies? Um, Anguilla Cay Island off Florida Straits is abandoned. Good detention facility. Step one, take over Anguilla for anyone else. It's a good idea, but I'm just now talking about the police that are willing to just do their job. So we don't have enough people that will coordinate and that will stand up and do something specific in that regards. It's going to take more organization at this point. We are seeing the balkanization already. Folks are leaving the blue states left and right. Exactly. Um, there are some police. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, Johnny Rhodes. You have to network. You have to vet your sources. Um, right. They're violating their oath. Exactly. And I have law enforcement officers, prior military guys that I know that would stand right next to me, and you know that's the way it should be. And I also know some that I wouldn't turn my back on. So that's where I say you've got to vet these people, because in a minute things can turn ugly, and if the wrong person's on your team, you can be victimized pretty quickly. Seems they are going to get us, those that aren't jabbed later. They're going to try. And this is what this whole video is about. We outnumber them. We just don't realize it. People are too involved with their social media and stuff, and looking at a screen, that's your entire world. You don't realize there's something else out here, like a whole bunch of us. So some you work with, you still trust. See, it only takes a few people to create a barrier of resistance. Passports are going state to state next. Yeah, but trust me, I know how to get around without having to use a highway. So not too worried about what they do. I'm I'm the epitome of the resistance. Uh, I can get around. The most dangerous thing that happened was the CDC labeling a viewpoint as a public health threat. Yeah, right. My daughter networked with cops as a waitress in California, smart cookie, and she went to school with many on the force. Not all cops are bad. I agree, and that's what I said. Not all of them are. I said there's an alarming number of them being exposed that are an issue, but we just need to keep that in mind. And the same thing with military. The disgusting thing is that 30% of the military are willing to be on the side of the tyrants. That means 70% of the military is willing to be with us. So again, you have to vet the people that you are willing to let inside your circle. um, are also violating the Constitution by allowing the tyranny and run rampant. I'm not condoning violence. We need to be louder. Complacency is a dangerous positioning to occupy. Exactly. Um, the Pied Piper, my throat, lymph nodes have been swollen. That sucks. Um, the other thing that we need to make sure that everybody understands is that if you haven't started prepping for a lifestyle as a nomad and potential survivalist, it's important that you start. And one of those things might be getting a book of your area something that tells you about the plants that are edible in your area and plants that can be used for medicinal purposes. And it needs to be a book. Don't download it online, because then you're back to square one if you lose your internet connection or your ability to pay for an internet. Um, but, Joshua, welcome. Yeah, we're talking about prepping and networking and stuff. So I recommend. I mean, it's 40 minutes, but go back and listen to it, because there's a lot of information being put down here that can help you. Um, Magical Hoof channel here. Let's see, on YouTube, and she will help you. Okay. Again, that would be great, but there needs to be some kind of offline communication as well. Um, it's going to be an interesting adventure, to say the least, to get something like this going, but it's not impossible. Um, Conservative Patriot prepping for 8 months, that's a good thing. Just make sure you have the books on your local plants that you can eat, vegetation that you can turn into medication, um, first aid, a network of people that can trade and barter with. Ham radio that's an interesting idea, except it goes right back into whatever we say on a ham is going to be picked up by another person on a ham. So the communication needs to be fairly primitive. Broadcasting systems of any kind would be used in absolute emergencies, and using very coded language so that it just can't be deciphered by somebody else who's on the other side. Monocle natural antibiotics in form of intravenous, the government doesn't let you know about. Yeah, there's a lot of medication out there, a lot of cures that they don't want to get out, because it's a pay for play system, and they'd rather have you as a revolving patient than a healed patient, because there's no money in healing. Prepping for 6 years, none of this last year really affected me. That's good, and that's the way it should be. Morse code may be a good to learn. Yeah, I used to be able to sit and listen to Morse code like I'm listening to a radio show and be able to write it down. It's amazing what you learn and forget. I was completely fluent in Morse code, and I've forgotten most of it. I used to be completely fluent in Japanese, and I've forgotten most of it. I still understand it pretty well when I catch a show with Japanese that has subtitles. I don't have to read the subtitles, but it's just hard to remember the phrases and the language when you don't use it all the time. Medicaid too. Yeah, Medicaid that's a control system also. These opinions will be deemed a threat to public health. Will there be boxcars and camps? Only if people choose to get in them. I ain't gonna be that one. But anyway, I really think I've put enough of a bug in your ear to know what's going on. I know it's been an awful long time since I've been live on here, and I apologize about that, but my priorities in life are altered at this point. It's my focus is on health and well-being of Lisa, and taking care of the things around me that I have to do for that. So obviously I'll be getting on here more as things have settled down a bit, and I'll do some more lives. I'll do some more walk around videos, but if there's a span between them, then you just got to understand I've got a lot going on. The Herb book by John Lust is the most complete book you can buy. I know, because I had an entire library and found more in this book than any library. That's interesting. Book by John Lust. I will look that up when we get done here. It would be interesting to have Native Americans. They're another group that would be able to help you, especially if you get somewhere where there's a reservation, and if you can talk to the medicine man. That's a very good source. Talk to the chief, find out if there's an option for retreat should it be necessary. Um, I'm an Apache, and I know that if I go to the Apache reservation, that I will be accepted. I'll be ridiculed as a half breed and a blue-eyed Indian and all those other stupid things they do. But like I said, names are irrelevant. Um, Jesus first, always. How you doing, Franny Pierce? Good to see you. So anyway, that's what I've got. And if you have more to add, please hit me up in the comments. If you guys want to start using my email, sending me addresses and stuff, I'll start getting things written down in my little black book. And again, if you write down people's information, that information needs to be guarded like it's guarded like it's a classified weapon of some sort, because technically it would be, and it needs to never fall into the hands of somebody who would intend to do us harm. Um, yeah, those blue eyes too. Yeah, there's a lot of us. I mean, I've got more than 50% Native American in me, but my dad managed to slip the old blue eyes in there. So whatever, it's all good. I'm half Viking and half Apache, so I'm well rounded. You have a book on Native American medicines. Yeah, that's good. All right, you guys. That really is what I've got for you. I appreciate you guys hanging out. People over here on D Live, thank you for the new stuff, the ice creams and lemons and all that. Welcome to my new followers over there. What is that? Luke Crowell, and B. Kinder. How are you? Good to see you. Appreciate you guys hanging out. All right, that's what I got. Make sure you guys start this stuff because it's time. Time is short. We're looking at Saint Vincent down there, showing exactly how much the government cares about their people. It's going to get worse. Anyway, much love to all of you. Appreciate all the prayers, all the support. Lisa is hanging in there. We're still doing appointments, and things are moving in the forward direction. So it's good that way. But until next time, y'all get ready, because the fight's coming, and y'all stay in the fight.